Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today's video, we're talking about the recent epidemic of celebrity clothing lines and how I think as a society, we're ignoring the fact that they're often not sustainable at all. So whether it's because we look up to celebrities and we don't want to hold them to account, or we think maybe they're a celebrity in another aspect, like a television star, or maybe they're like an influencer, a lifestyle influencer or whatever. We don't think that they necessarily know about sustainability and therefore they can get a free pass. For whatever reason, we often aren't holding these celebrity brands accountable in the same way that we're holding fast fashion brands, for instance, accountable. And I want to discuss maybe some examples of this and why I think it needs to change. So let's do some examples of celebrity brands that I'm talking about. You have Skims, which is owned by Kim Kardashian, and the Kardashians are going to feature quite heavily on this list. Kim's brand Skims actually featured in my worst greenwashing of 2023 video because of the nipple bra campaign. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but if not, Kim was basically trivializing the climate crisis and using it as an excuse to sell nipple bras because the world is heating up and people won't be showing their nipples because they won't be cold. So this nipple bra is going to solve that issue. And just basically commodifying the climate crisis and whatever. And I just really didn't like it. And a lot of people really didn't like it. I mean, that error of judgment aside, they also scored less than Shein on this year's remake report. They literally scored 0 points out of a possible 150 across all different sectors of sustainability you can have. So yeah, sustainability is not high on their list, obviously. You also have Kylie Jenner's brand, which I've done a video about also. I mentioned there that there was really no thoughts on sustainability put into that brand at all. Like if you go on the website for Kai, there's no sustainability page or no like mention at all of their sustainability requirements, which is just a commonplace thing in the industry now. Like even fast fashion brands have a sustainability page. Like you go on Zara, H&M, whatever, they at least try to make it look like they have sustainability commitments, and Kai doesn't even bother. So I think that sums up their approach to sustainability. You have Fenty, which is Rihanna's brand. She also scored less than Shein on this year's remake report, and she scored less than Shein on last year's remake report too. So this is like an ongoing issue that she's known about for a while. And both times they've made headlines for how crazy it is that the ultra fast fashion giant has better sustainability guidelines in place, like at least they're reporting they do, than the brand that's owned by a well-known billionaire. Fabletics, which is owned by Kate Hudson, is another really good example. There was that whole story last year of how her character in The Glass Onion was accused of labor issues in their clothing brand, and actually came out that Kate Hudson's Fabletics were being accused of the same thing in real life. So that made quite big news. But yeah, in 2021, Time magazine revealed labor issues in Fabletics supply chain. So another good example of a celebrity brand that is seeing sustainability as not only optional, but like just a waste of time. What else? You have Goop by Gwyneth Paltrow, which is like a wellness holistic brand. And they have a clothing line called G Label by Goop, I believe, which is quite pricey. I think a sweater on there retails for about $500, but it's rated as We Avoid on Good On You, which is a really good brand directory if you're looking up whether a brand is sustainable or not. But be wary because they do also have affiliate links, so are promoting consumption in their own way. But yeah, anyway, Goop was rated We Avoid on there because it has a long way to go. It doesn't really have a lot of transparency, doesn't really talk about its materials, doesn't really talk about its labor or supply chain issues. So once again, brand not even caring to disclose information. What I wanted to include for a specific reason is The Row by Mary-Kate and Olsen. Now this is like a luxury fashion brand. This is like a luxury darling. Like it has a massive cult of followers and it's like revered as a really good brand and they know what they're doing and like an influencer brand that does it right. But they also don't have sustainability requirements in place. Like, I went on their website, there was no sustainability page. I looked them up on Good On You. It was, again, we avoid because of this lack of transparency, lack of progress and whatever. So even luxury fashion brands by celebrities, which are selling products in the region of the thousands, aren't bothering with sustainability. So I think I've proved my point. But you also have celebrity collections with fast fashion brands. And I think this is a little bit more common because it's obviously so easy. Like, the barrier to entry is so much easier. You don't have to set up your own label. You just have to collaborate with an existing label. So we've had loads. We've had Rita Ora and Primark, Kourtney and Boohoo, which I'm going to come on to, Victoria Beckham and Mango. I mean, Victoria Beckham has her own luxury fashion label, kind of like the Rose, which has been doing all right, but she still saw the need to collaborate with Mango, a fast fashion retailer. Really recently, you had Sienna Miller collaborating with M&S for autumn women's wear, I think. And I wanted to touch on this because M&S is like a silent polluter almost. I mean, they're maybe not as bad as some fast fashion brands, but if you've seen my videos on waste colonialism, you know that a lot of clothing that gets donated through Oxfam or like charity shops, especially here in the UK, actually get shipped overseas to secondhand markets instead of being used, get put into landfill, washed into the sea and whatever. And when there was a report on what labels and what fashion brands were coming up most in these discarded piles, M&S was one of the most frequently named brands. So clearly they're doing something wrong. But our perception of M&S is not the same as some of these other examples I've given. So maybe that is a video for another time, like how supermarkets get away with creating their own clothing labels and we don't hold them to the same account as fast fashion labels, despite the fact that they are. Maybe. Let me know if you want to see that video. I mean, on the same vein, but obviously not at the same global reach, you have influencer collaborations with fast fashion brands, people coming off reality shows like Love Island, people who are big on social media and whatever. They are almost exclusively collaborating with fast fashion brands, and yet we still don't hold them to the same account. And I just want to talk about why that is. I just think that there's literally no excuse for this. Like, why are celebs not paying attention to fast fashion issues? Are they just thinking, okay, so this isn't my main job, I'm just collaborating with a brand, or I'm just, creating my own label and it's up to someone else to take responsibility for the sustainability issues? Or are they not even thinking about the sustainability? Are they just thinking they're above scrutiny because they're a global household name? Are they thinking they can just make a quick buck without being held to account because they're above scrutiny, or because they see this as a side hustle that they don't need to take seriously? They're not really in the world of sustainable fashion, so how could they know better? How could they know the issues of fast fashion? Do you know what I mean? It just stems from like ignorance, and also I think a little bit of arrogance. It's like, I'm above this. And I want to talk about a really good example of this. I said I was going to come back to Kourtney and Boohoo, so let's just quickly get into that. So if you didn't know, Kourtney Kardashian was named Sustainability Ambassador at Boohoo. Now, before she even put out a collection, that headline was everywhere. People were not happy with it. After her first collection came out, she received a lot of backlash. And she responded to that in an Instagram post, kind of saying she expected the backlash and thanking people for it, for like educating her. I want to talk about two things wrong with the statement she put out. Not apologizing for her collection, I'd say, but like talking about her collection. The first thing that kind of struck me was her acknowledging the fact that she'd done fast fashion campaigns with other brands in the past and they'd gone under the radar. She said, for someone who's done a fast fashion line collaboration in the past, which didn't get backlash because I was not calling attention to trying to make better changes. Now, what annoys me here is the fact that she is acknowledging that she got away with this in the past. She, as an influencer, as a celebrity, knew that she wouldn't be held to account for sustainability issues in the collection. She knew that something was wrong, but because she wasn't calling attention to that, she thought that it would just slip under the radar. And it did, because no one called out on it. The other part of her statement also annoyed me. She said, I invite any experts who have ideas, suggestions to reach out. She's calling on other people to educate her about these issues. But she should be able to educate herself. I mean, she's a grown woman. She's being paid millions of dollars for this collaboration. It should be on her to understand the issues. And I'm not saying you have to understand everything on your own, sure. But, 5 minutes of Googling fast fashion and sustainable fashion should be enough to tell you that Boohoo maybe isn't doing things right. And maybe this isn't the collaboration for you, or maybe you need to seriously address these concerns before putting your name behind it. Filming another thought while editing, because I should have said this, but I think a massive part of these celebrity collections is the fact that they wouldn't be wearing these clothes themselves. Like, do you really think Kourtney is wearing her Boohoo collaboration on any given day if she's not, filming for marketing purposes, or, wearing it specifically to get papped or whatever? Like, no. Or even like the Victoria Beckham Mango collection. Victoria Beckham is not wearing Mango quality clothing, but they still felt the need to release clothing that was this bad quality. So bad that they wouldn't wear it themselves, but they're fine selling it to the masses and, ruining the planet while they do it. If they're not willing to wear their own products, then why have they bothered creating it in the first place? It just doesn't make sense. Why should celebrities be able to throw their name behind a brand, rake in millions or thousands of dollars per collaboration, without being subjected to the same scrutiny of a fast fashion brand that's essentially doing the same thing, maybe without a celebrity? The industry always talks about Zara, H&M. They drag specific names through the mud over and over again, but we hardly ever hear about celebrity brands or celebrity collaborations in this conversation. It's almost like we think celebrities are on a pedestal that we can't touch, or we think, yeah, this isn't their main deal, let's give them a break, let's not subject them to the same scrutiny as other brands. I had another kind of half-formed thought about why we're so willing to forgive celebrities. And I kind of think maybe it has something to do with parasocial relationships and the psychology of feeling these people are our friends, and you're always willing to give the benefit of doubt to your friends, or believe they had the best of intentions. And maybe that's why we don't hold these celebrities to account in the same way that we do a faceless brand, if that makes sense, because we feel like we're closer to them, we feel like we know them, and we feel like we know they didn't mean to cause any harm or whatever. And I don't know if this is true, but I feel like potentially it's an explanation. Maybe some psychologists that follow me could weigh in on this, but I thought it was an interesting half-formed idea. But I think that's wrong. They are being paid for this work. They are putting their name behind it. They should know what they're getting themselves into. I think if they want to become a part of the industry, they have to become a part of the industry. They can't set themselves away from it, away from the problems of it, and claim ignorance. If you want to put out a clothing label, you are responsible for that clothing label. Before we go, are there any brands or celebrities doing well, I guess? I've heard talk of Amy Song's new brand. She's putting out, I think, a primarily knitwear brand that actually focuses on sustainability. I haven't really done much research into this, but this is what Vogue is reporting. So potentially there's something there, and maybe we're going to see a new wave of celebrity brands that are taking on more responsibility thanks to all this backlash we've had so far. The other good example I want to mention is Tasha from Love Island collaborating with eBay. Obviously, in these days, overconsumption is the main issue of sustainable fashion, and even if Amy Song's new line is the most sustainable brand out there, it's still creating new clothes which we actually don't need. So Tasha's collaboration with eBay is potentially the pinnacle of sustainable fashion collaborations, and I think she's really done this right. She's encouraging people to shop secondhand, putting her name behind it, which is quite considerable in the UK. And I think this is what more influencers should do coming onto these shows. It should not be the norm that you come out of a show like this and immediately take up a fast fashion collaboration. But yeah, anyway, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I'm sure there's going to be some thoughts because people get really weird about celebs. So yeah, tell me your thoughts, but please be kind. And just a quick reminder that the call for submissions I did on your sustainable fashion questions, I'm going to be filming that video this week. So please send them in ASAP. I'll link the community post below if you want to post it there. Yeah, and I'll see you really, really soon. Thank you for watching and have a lovely day. Bye.